this computer. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and work. Let's get started. There we go. Clear that off. All right, we have a mixed number divided by a mixed number here. We're gonna go ahead and take the first part of the mixed number, negative and 1 3/8. 1 3/8 divided by -1 and 4/7. Well, we have a negative number divided by a negative number. We will go ahead and change this mixed number into an improper fraction by doing what?
You add 8 to the 3 over 8.
Multiply 8 and 7 and then add
You add it. Wait.
You multiply 8 and 1 and then add a 3.
All right, what's 8 times 1?
8.
Plus 3.
11.
So this will be negative 11 over 8. And we do the same thing over here. This is still divided by 1 times 7
7.
plus 4.
11.
So this will be 11 over 7. And this is going to be negative. Now, because you have the two fractions over here and it's being divided, we'll go ahead and take the first fraction, which is negative 11 over 8. And what we'll do is we'll multiply this and do the reciprocal. The reciprocal is just the opposite, which is going to be negative 7 over 11. Once you get to this point over here, we're going to go ahead and multiply straight across. We know that a negative times a negative will give you a positive, but also because of the 11s over here, we know we could go ahead and cancel these over here. So my final answer will just be 7 over 8 for the first one. All right. If we take the second question over here, and we see this to be negative 21 this is negative 21 is equal to 0.07 z. Well, in order for us to solve for z, to isolate the variable c, is we have to do just the complete opposite. So if we must determine what's happening between the 0.07 and the z. What's happening between 0.07 and z? They're multiplying. So what's the opposite of multiplication? So this is what you guys are going to get, 0.07. You must divide that to both sides. This will cancel out. So therefore, we have z is equal to negative 21 divided by 0.07. So we have negative 21 divided by 0.07. Well, if this is the case, we understand that if we have 21 divided by 0.07, right, we have to move the decimals over here in order for us to go ahead and divide it. So this will be moved twice, 1, 2, and the decimal here is located right in the back. So we'll move it 1, 2. So it's actually 7 divided by 2,100. So we know that 7 goes into 21 3 times. And of course, this actually has to be negative, okay? Negative 3 times 7 is actually going to give you negative 21, which this changes signs, which this will give you 0. And of course, the remaining two parts over here has to be 0. So the answer to this, negative 21 equals to 0.07 z, means the same thing as negative 300 for the value of z. One way to check your work is just to go ahead and work backwards. It's just multiplication. Well, if you take the negative 300 and we multiply it by 0.07 and we work this out, we know 7 times 0 is just 0, 7 times 0 is just 0, 7 times 3 is negative 21, and the decimal goes to 2 decimal places, and that's what we have over here. So we just checked our work. Z is in fact negative 300 over here. All right, we'll take this one over here and we'll work this one out. Well, this one just says negative 24 divided by 6. Remember, I told you guys before that you guys could write this as a fraction. So what's negative 24 divided by 6?
-4.
That's your final answer. All right. All right, so we have this one over here now. We have a fraction being multiplied by a fraction. So we have 2 over 5 times 2 over 3. Now, this is important since we cannot simplify and going diagonal. All we really have to do, guys, is just multiply straight across. What a lot of times students do, guys, is you only multiply the top, but you don't have a tendency of multiplying the bottom. So this right here was 2 times 2.
4.
What's 5 times 3?
15.
15. Your final answer here is going to be 4 over 15. Now, this is another one I wanted you guys to observe, please, because a lot of times this is what a mistake. This is an error that a lot of students do. Let's say if I have 2 over 7 times 3 over 7. What the students have a tendency of doing is they multiply across, which gives me 6 over 7. What was the error there?
They didn't multiply on the bottom.
They didn't multiply the bottom. And I see this a lot. It's very important to understand if you're multiplying fractions, you multiply the numerators together. And when you multiply the denominators together, this should not be 7, but instead it should be what?
49.
Very good. All right. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Here we have which of the following expressions is equivalent to negative 9j. Well, I want you guys to remember this right here. If we have here negative 9 over j, it's important to understand that the negative could be in the numerator and it can be also in the denominator, but it cannot be on both. And why? Here goes an example. If it's on both, let's say if it's negative 9 over negative j, then a negative and a negative becomes a what?
Positive.
It'll become a positive 9j. So here, this could be your answer. This right here, how many negatives do you see?
2.
This cannot be your answer. So according to this, the only one out of the 3 that will be able to work out, it will be the first one, which is actually option A. All right. All right, let's take a look at the next one. I told you guys before, think outside the box, right? Well, if we take a look at this part here, all right, we could look at the number line and we could see that y is just going to be 1. And if we look at the number line over here going backwards, we see that x is going to be negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, 5, negative 6, negative 7. It's not negative 8, but it's very close to negative 8, right? So we could say x is equal to negative 8 in approximation, okay? Let's go ahead and put an approximation here instead. And y is 1. Well, if I do the multiplication here, this is what I have. 1 times negative 8 over 1. Well, if I take this out of the parentheses, what's negative 8 divided by 1?
Negative 8.
So now we have 1 times negative 8. Well, what's 1 times negative 8?
Negative 8.
Negative 8. So therefore, my final answer is going to be what?
Negative.
Negative. So as long as you're able to give your values, the variables, some specific type of value, you'll be able to get this response over here. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Again, we talked about this before. And here we see that we have negative 13 over, and in the middle, we have another negative sign over here, 12. Well, remember the negative will become a what?
Positive.
It will become a positive 13. So as long as you see two negatives, it will be a positive. So this right here will be a positive. This right here will be a what?
Negative.
So your final answer will be A. All right, let's take a look at the next one here. Now, the next one requires you guys to do order of operation. All right. So we have -7 -7 times 7 plus 9. Well, the order of operation tells you to do what first? Parentheses. So we take these two right here, we combine it. What's 7 plus 9?
16.
So it's 16. And then we bring this down over here. So it'll be -7 times 16, which will be my final step. Well, I could take this 16 times 7. What's 7 times 6? 42. Carry the 4. What's 7 times 1? 7 plus 4, 11. So this is 112. But the final question I have for you guys will be positive or negative. Negative, because you have a negative times a positive. This will give you a negative 112. All right, so we have this again. We have two fractions dividing each other. So we have the first part, which is 1/7 divided by 2/5. Well, if we have two fractions dividing by each other, what should we do with the second fraction?
Flip it.
What is that called? Very good, the reciprocal. So we take 1/7. We do the reciprocal of 2/5, which is what? 5/2. And then the division becomes a what?
Multiplication.
Multiplication. So now we have this. What is the next step when we multiply fractions?
Multiply at the top.
Multiply across. So what's 5 times 1?
5,
And what is 7 times 2?
14.
That is your final answer. All right, so here we have, it says a word problem. It says Jared lost a total of $9 on his investment over 2 months. He lost an equal amount of money each month. The following equation describes the situation. -$9 divided by 2 is equal to $4.50. Well, if he lost it for 2 months, all right, and he says he lost an equal amount for month 1, month 2. For this month, it tells you what he lost. And for this month, it tells you what he lost. So if we take a look at this here, it says choose one of the following. It says Jared's investment was worth $4.50 less than it was 2 months ago. The loss in value on Jared's investment each month was $4.50.
Yes.
That looks like the best response we could get. And then finally, the last one. Now, this is something that is, you see a lot. Notice that the first equation over here that is actually given, it's something that is just very basic. It is 10 minus 12. Well, guys, what is 10 minus 12? -2. So we're looking for something, one of these two here, that will also give you a -2. Why? Because of the word equivalent. Again, what does equivalent mean? Let's use the word the same. Okay, we're looking for something that is going to be the same as -2. So we take the first one. We have 2 times 5 minus 6. We're doing order of operation here. So what is the first thing that we should do?
Multiply.
All right, so we multiply these two. What's 2 times 5?
10.
And what's 10 minus 6? Is that the same thing as 2? -2. That's not my answer. Well, let's take the next one. 2 times 5 minus 6. What does order of operations tell you to do first?
Distributed property.
Not the distributive property. Do the parentheses first. So we do the parentheses first here. What is 5 minus 6? What is it? -1. Good. So we have -1. What's 2 times -1?
-2.
Is that the same thing as the one we have here?
Yeah.
So that is going to be my final answer over here. And now if those A, B, C, D, and E, then you work out each one to determine which one is going to be the -2. All right. So let me go ahead and choose this one as the answer. -2. And we're done, guys. Any questions?